Hey guys, how's it going? It's Al. It's Monday morning. It is about 7:15 in the morning here in Los Angeles. I'm going to take a first look at NBA lineups for Monday night. And we got a 9-game slate on Draftkings. I'm going to break down each one of the top salaried players. I'm going to pick 2 of them that I like. I'm going to go over 3 value plays that I think are in play for this evening in order to fit those studs. I tend to be a stars and scrubs player when it comes to NBA. That's what I gravitate towards. As I've always said, minutes equals money. So whenever players are out, that kind of opens up more value. Players are priced based on what their average points per game is, not usually what their outlook is for the evening based on the opponent. So typically speaking, if a player is slated to play something like, 15 or 18 minutes, and that's typically what they average, they're going to be priced at their fantasy points per minute times the minutes that they play. That pretty much equals their fantasy output. And that's where their price usually comes from as DraftKings kind of prices these guys. As players in front of them in the rotation come out, those players tend to pick up more minutes, more rotation. The price doesn't reflect because the salaries have come out long before those injuries happen, long before those DNPs have happened, which creates an inefficiency in the pricing. So you've got a player, instead of playing 15 to 18 minutes, scheduled to play 25 or 27 minutes. That creates a ton of value for us because those players tend to keep their fantasy point per minute output unless somebody that comes out of the lineup that's a high usage player than other people soak up that usage. But typically speaking, a 15-minute a game player that's priced as a 15-minute a game player, if you allow him to play 25 minutes, you're going to find instant value for that evening, and that's what I focus on in order to identify some of the best value plays on the day. Thank you guys for being here for this video. I appreciate it. You guys coming back day after day for these NBA videos. I don't put one out every single day of the week. You can't expect people to work 7 days out of the week, but the 3, 4, 5 days that I do put one out, the support has been tremendous. Please, if you haven't already, click subscribe on the channel, like this video, and ring that notifications bell so you guys can be notified anytime I publish new NBA or NFL content right here on YouTube. Links to all my other socials are right in the description down below. And then I'm live on Twitch pretty much 6 days a week. That schedule is posted on Instagram. That's also in the socials down below. Find me. I'd love to meet you. Come say hi. So let's get right over to DraftKings and take a look at tonight's slate. I was like, why didn't it show up? But here it is. Okay, so it showed up. Here we are on DraftKings. This is tonight's slate. 9 games. No real late games. Last game tips off at 6 p.m. Pacific time. That's 9 Eastern. No 7:30 Pacific time. No, Golden State out west, Lakers out west, any of that sort of thing. So kind of a truncated slate. It's going to be nice and compact for us this evening. At the top of the salary list, Giannis Antetokounmpo. I warned about this the last game. Okay, he's questionable for tonight's game. When you get players that are priced up at over 11K, you need a 60-point output from him. If he plays an entire game, he's probably going to do it. He was well on pace for it the other night with 31 points in 19 minutes. If he played his normal 35 minutes, he would have met value. The problem is it leaves you with a big hole, right? When you roster that guy and he kind of gets hurt, comes out of the game, even for one rotation, right? One rotation is usually 8 minutes. If he comes out for one rotation because he goes back to the locker room but then comes back later, you might be able to salvage things. But it's going to put a big dent in your score. So we're taking a little bit of a risk when we roster these guys that are way up here. Usually they're going to play. Usually they're going to get their minutes. Just know the risk when you leap on those guys that are 11-5 versus a 10K guy. You have to be a lot more price sensitive in NBA than you have to in NFL or MLB. They said he's questionable for Monday night's game. Monitor this. If he's out, obviously Middleton becomes a much better play. Again, it's really early in the morning. Don't have the reports yet. The NBA does tend to be a little bit like the Wild Wild West when it comes to injury reporting. They don't just give us the inactives. They don't give us the news. It's up to the beat writers. So follow every beat writer you can find on Twitter. There's usually some NBA lists that you can find, and always be at your workstation 30 minutes before lock so that you can consume all of the information that's out there and make the best decision. You have to be nimble in NBA. If you set a lineup, and I usually set a lineup in the morning, placeholder lineup, it's not just a dummy lineup. I'm not just clicking, right? I'm like, okay, here's 8 bodies, whatever, fill all the games. Sometimes I do that, but most often I put a first look lineup into my lineup. Now, sometimes that lineup stays relatively the same by the time lock comes, like it was in the morning. I might change a few things. Some things change during the day. Sometimes it looks completely different. So NBA, you have to be very nimble waiting up until lock. So if Giannis Antetokounmpo is somebody who you want to play today, you have to realize that obviously if he's out, check before lock. And if he is, know what your if-then statements are going to be. If Giannis Antetokounmpo is out, which players are going to get the biggest bump from you on the Bucks in terms of minutes, in terms of usage, because he does soak up a lot of the offensive usage on that team. LeBron James all the way up at 11-4 now, and with a full roster. Okay, so Rondo is back. I don't know if Ingram is back. So with a fuller roster, I am less likely to want to pay up for LeBron James. He is still a 65-point upside player. He is going to be that all the time, right? Especially in games where you expect him to have his hands on the ball, especially against teams that play up in pace like the Lakers play up in pace, or in highly competitive nationally televised games are the games that I would expect the biggest nights out of LeBron James. So knowing that, and knowing that Minnesota, not that great defensively, team that he can get off against, but a team that Rondo and Lonzo are going to have the ball in their hands a little bit more, we could see a line more like this, which is fine, less like this, which is great. Okay? You want the games where LeBron's going to challenge for a triple-double. He's going to be playing a lot of power forward, so double-doubles are going to be well within his reach. Hopefully, it's a game where his teammates can knock down some shots, which has been a problem as well for him in keeping his assist totals, which are good at 8.3, but he could have had 3, 4, 5 more assists every game because his teammates have not been able to knock down open shots. Anthony Davis, another player who's questionable, might miss tonight. Okay, he is somebody who is going to change the entire outlook of this slate. If he plays against Denver and he's ready to go, I am probably going to want to have Anthony Davis in my lineups. Maybe not my cash game lineup with a lingering injury, but most definitely tournaments, because there are not many players on any slate that can put up 80-point nights, and he's one of them. And he's challenged for that pretty much every single night this season. He's posted great games every single time he's been out there. Questionable for tonight's game. If he misses, Julius Randle takes a big jump forward. Again, he's another questionable guy. They look like a mash unit, the Pelicans do right now. They got like 5 players that are questionable for this evening. So this is a roster completely in flux right now for the Monday night slate. Drew Holiday also going to take a big step forward if he's out. So you got to monitor this one as the day goes along. Kevin Durant, dude's been spectacular. A lot of people think that he's being held back by being on a team as great as the Warriors, but those numbers don't look like a player being held back to me. He's getting about 20 shots a night. He's making a ridiculous amount of those shots, hitting a bunch of threes, being a good facilitator with 5 or more assists in 3 of the 4 games that they've played this year, although he has not doubled yet at this point in the season, but 30 points in each of the 3 games in 3 of the last 4, 51.9 fantasy points a game. Steph Curry went nuclear in 1 game. He's been very good in the other games. If you want to pay for him at point guard, I think there's more value at point guard tonight. I don't think that's a route that I'm going to want to go to pay up for him. Joel Embiid, priced at $10K and producing like he should be. I don't have a problem with this price, and I like that it's come down. Again, I've said you have to be really price sensitive. $400 doesn't seem like a lot in salary, but in NBA it really is. The difference between $10,500 and $10,000 is big. And on the other side of that, Nikola Jokic being priced all the way up now to $9,900. But you look at those game logs, yes, he can do this, right? We know that. He's the guy that I said at center, nobody can triple-double as often as he can because of his role as a facilitator on the Nuggets. The real problem is, he's priced now essentially the same as Joel Embiid, and Joel Embiid way more consistent at scoring the basketball and much higher rebound totals for Embiid, as well as the block shots, giving him a higher floor at essentially the same price with a very similar ceiling. So when you consider $9,900 and $10,000, I prefer Embiid greatly to Jokic this evening, just based on the merits. So Jokic, a play that I love at 85 to 92 at 9,900. He starts to show warts, especially when you have him on the same slate as somebody like Embiid, priced exactly the same as he is. And then Ben Simmons, Kawhi Leonard, Lillard, DeRozan, all these guys have posted big numbers. DeRozan probably a little bit high at 9,100 for me. But let's take a look at some of the value plays that we're going to use to fit a couple of these guys in there. The first one, I think there's some point guard value. I think that there's some minutes played value here for Miami at mid-range, 4,900. Kelly Olynyk. As long as he's playing 30 minutes, he's going to do enough for us at this salary. We're looking for mid to high 20s, almost 30 points out of him. And you look at the difference, right? This is what I was talking about. You get a 15, 16 minute a game player, he's going to score about a fantasy point a minute. That's about what Kelly Olynyk does. He's going to score you a little bit more, right? 16, 18 fantasy points. He plays 29, 30 minutes. He's going to score 26 to 35 fantasy points. I expect him to be closer to that 30-minute mark this evening, 25 to 30 minutes played. If he plays 26 minutes, he probably should score 28 fantasy points, which is more than enough for me at this salary. Looking at one more value play, we got three of them I'm going to get through. A guy that's basically been the value play for us all along, Wendell Carter Jr. Guy's been doing pretty well, right? Doing well enough. 31 points here, 21 points here. All these were fine versus his salary at 4,700 and playing the minutes that he's playing. If he scores 25 to 28 points, I think that that's more than enough at this salary point for us to pay this off and allow us to pay for the higher price guys. Just another player that I want to have in the lineup, but I'm going to plug him in at the forward spot since we have Olynyk in at power forward and leave that center spot open. You'll see why in a minute. Last value play, and I like that they've plugged him in at small forward here recently. Frank Ntilikina starts at small forward the last game. I expect this lineup to basically remain similar to this based on who they have on this team. Don't tell me I have low disk space, computer. I don't even have an F drive. If he's going to play this many minutes, and he has basically done that for 3 straight games, at 3,900, we're looking at like 20 to 24 points for him to reach value. He's kind of lived in that range for the last 2 games, and his price has come down. So based on where the minutes are, based on how much he's playing, and I like this small forward eligibility because it still allows me to get other point guards and point guard / shooting guards in this lineup, which is guys that can get you double-doubles. Small forward, unless you're playing one of the super studs in that spot, is a little bit tougher to fill a lot of the time. I want guys that can double-double and triple-double in my point guard, and if I can get one in my shooting guard spot, a shooting guard small forward or a point guard shooting guard, that helps me a lot. Looking back at the studs, Joel Embiid, already spoke about him. He is going to be the first guy that I want to plug in, and everything to me is going to have a little bit of a Philly feel today. Ben Simmons now playing the minutes that we want from him. I'm expecting a big game against Atlanta. Atlanta not really capable or able to defend anybody, let alone a talent like Ben Simmons. This is a night that he should get a double-double. Could challenge once again for a triple-double. Hopefully he can get to the rack as much as he can because we know that he can't really shoot from outside. I'm going to plug him into my point guard spot, or not. Apparently I'm going to plug him into my guard spot. I'm going to plug him into my point guard spot, I said, Draftkings. And that's going to be my 5 for today, leaving us with 5,600 in salary. Those are going to be my 3 value plays and my 2 studs. That's who I'm going with tonight. Thank you guys for being here. I appreciate y'all hanging out. If you wouldn't mind, that subscribe button's right there for you to click. Right here, we have the Monday Night Football video. If you're playing Monday Night Football single game showdown, click one of those, please, and I'll catch up to you later. Bye, everybody.